Hey guys, it's Amy here, and today I bring you some recommendations for winter reading. So whether it be for yourself or as a gift at this time of year, I thought these books that I'm going to show you today would be good for a winter reading. So let's crack on. If you enjoy mystery and intrigue and murder type books, I would recommend Agatha Christie. I love reading Agatha Christie at this time of year. I don't know what it is about them. They're all pretty short reads, but I just really love the nice nostalgic feeling I get when I pick up an Agatha Christie novel. You just know you're going to get a good book, and I really love that. Two of the ones I have here are actually Christmas specific. This one is Hercule Poirot's Christmas, and this is The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. This is a few little stories in one, this one. One of my favourite ones is Murder on the Orient Express, and I would highly recommend this one at this time of year, as the premise of the story is that Hercule Poirot is on the Orient Express and they got stopped because of a snowdrift, and that just reminds me of winter, and I think it's a good thing to read at winter. So if you haven't read any Agatha Christie yet, I'd recommend this one first. If you like Agatha Christie and you'd like something similar, I would recommend The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Now this is a lot bigger than the Agatha Christie books, but it has that similar intrigue and mystery underlying the story. I don't know what it is about characters written at this time, but I just find them so endearing and lovely to read about. I just really enjoy reading books set in these periods. If you're getting this one as a gift for someone, I would recommend getting this Penguin English Library edition because it is really nicely done. It's a shame that they don't have the same feeling on the cover. It is matte now, but the artwork is still really nice and I really like it. Moving on, if you enjoy contemporary romance type novels at this time of year, I would highly recommend you pick up Rainbow Rowell. These are Attachments and Landline, her two adult novels. She's also written Fangirl and Eleanor and Park, but I didn't enjoy those quite as much as these ones. Landline especially is set during the Christmas period, so it may be a good one to read closer to Christmas time, but I just found them both to be incredibly funny, really enjoyable to read. Attachments especially, it was hilarious. I haven't laughed that much at a book in quite a long time. Both just really nice fluffy reads, and I think that's sometimes really nice to have at this time of year when you're a bit bogged down with the weather and it's cold and you just want to kind of read something that's a bit fluffy and nice at this time. I don't often read romance or contemporary type novels, so these ones struck me as the best of the bunch that I've read so far. Moving on, if you're a fan of historical fiction, I would recommend The Shadow of the Wind by Ruiz. Zafon. I read this a couple of years ago and absolutely adored it. It is a phenomenal novel. It's so well written and so well crafted. The whole story is brilliantly done. It's set in Barcelona and it follows the story of this mysterious library and this mysterious book that was written by this author who seems to have died, but no one's really sure where he's gone. It's just fantastic, really brilliant characters, really brilliant world building, and I just really enjoyed it. Ruiz is Spanish, and so this one is translated from the original Spanish. I just love the way that it is written, so I can't even imagine how gorgeous it would be in the original language. I just think it's a fantastic read and I would highly recommend. Another historical fiction recommendation I have here is The Wild Girl by Kate Forsyth. This isn't the actual cover, this is a proof copy that I got a while ago. This follows the story of a girl named Dorchen Wilde who grows up living next to the brothers Grimm. I'm sure you all know who the brothers Grimm are, but this story follows her and through her eyes how she sees the brothers Grimm, how she falls in love with one of them, and how their family dynamic all works together. You see the poverty and the war that is surrounding them, but all through that you see the growth of these stories and where they all come from for the brothers Grimm that eventually end up being their collection. It's a wonderfully magic story, and I would highly recommend if you have any interest in fairy tales, historical fiction, anything like that, this is one for you. Moving on, I have a couple of fantasy recommendations for you, and the first one is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is a fantastic, quaint little fairy tale-esque story. We follow a man who goes back to his childhood home and discovers all these things that he forgot there whilst he had been off living his life. He goes back and discovers this dark and mysterious world that he'd completely forgotten about whilst he'd been away. Neil Gaiman is an absolutely outstanding writer, and even in such a small book like this you can really see the depth and the absolute fantasticness that goes into all of these novels. If you enjoy things like Harry Potter and just magical stories that you can just get wrapped up in, I would really highly recommend picking up anything from Neil Gaiman. He has a really beautiful way of telling stories. And my second fantasy recommendation is The Book of Lost Things by Connelly. This is a similar theme, kind of dark fairy tales, magical worlds kind of thing. It is a wonderful story. This was one of my favourite books from whatever year I read it in, and I would highly recommend to anyone actually. I'd say this is kind of a dark and twisted version of the Chronicles of Narnia. A young boy in the story goes through a tree trunk, ends up in a different world where all the fairy tales that he has kind of known as a child are really twisted and mucked up, and he's basically trying to get through this world past all these crazy fairy tale creatures, and it's just a beautiful story. It's all to do with his kind of psychology and the things that he's dealing with in the real world, and it's just phenomenal. I really would recommend this to anyone if you haven't read it yet. So finally, on to my last two recommendations, and these are for someone who maybe wants something longer to read over Christmas, multiple books. These are both trilogies, and the first one I have to show you is His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. This, I think, is a fantastic read to read around Christmas time, in the winter. It's just a really warming and beautiful set of books. This follows the story of a girl named Lyra who lives in a parallel world to ours. It is quite similar to ours, but just things are slightly different. There are slightly more mystical and magical things going on in her world. Everyone in her world has a thing called a demon, which is a animal version of your soul, which kind of follows you around basically. In the books, Lyra stumbles upon a parallel universe and ends up being able to travel and meet different people from different universes. All through that, there are all these different relationships going on in the book with her mother and father, and everything is just really well written and really well constructed. I would highly recommend to anyone who loves a good epic fantasy read and just wants something to completely encapsulate them over the winter period. It's a really fantastic trilogy, and I'd highly recommend to all. And the final books I have to recommend are another trilogy, and they are the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. I reread these books earlier in this year and really thoroughly enjoyed them. As I was reading them, I was thinking in my head, these would be fantastic to read in the winter months. This follows the story of a young boy named Todd who lives in a world where he believes all women have been wiped off the face of the planet and that men are the only things left. All of the men in these books can hear each other's thoughts. One day, Todd is out walking, trying to escape the crazy sound of all the other men's thoughts, and he comes across this strange patch of silence and he can't work out what it is. Upon closer inspection, Todd discovers it's a young girl, and it completely obliterates all of his ideas of what the world is and what he's been brought up. Everything that he's been told is basically a lie, and he's got to then live through the rest of these books with all these crazy things happening. It's one of the most unique dystopians I've ever read. It's quite unlike anything I've read before. The characters are great, and Patrick Ness is a fantastic world builder, so if you haven't read this one, I would highly recommend. So those are all the recommendations I have for today. Let me know what you think. What books would you be reading at this time of year? What books do you hope to buy people for gifts for Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate? I would love to know. Let me know down below. As always, I will leave links to Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, everything I mentioned today down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see you soon. Bye! But they really get me in the Christmas mood. I think it's probably just because they have really good Christmases at Hogwarts, and I just wish that I could go